Hey everyone! Kidder Music Service is one of the greatest assets to our school district. From providing day-to-day materials like reeds and valve oil to purchasing pieces of sound and instrumental equipment, there isn't anything they can't do. Kidder Music Service helps our students sound the best they can each and every day, and we are proud to call them a Music in the Making sponsor. If you are looking for similar materials for your school, don't hesitate to call and ask for assistance and mention us, Music in the Making, today. Their number is 309-692-4040, or visit kiddermusic.com, that's Kidder music.com today for all your music classroom needs. And now, on to the podcast. Welcome to Music in the Making.
That's illegal.
I want to be with you everywhere. A Halloween party. Oh, that's fun. Let's talk about work.
That's not what I said. Well, and I like Stanridge, so it's like I kind of.
Oh, you guys are friends?
Yeah,
You guys
I
are
talked to
friends?
him. Yeah, we talked
Talked to him last week.
a whole 5 minutes at Midwest last year. We are 3 high school and junior high music teachers from West Central Illinois.
And someone had to go to the bathroom during intermission and missed it. And that someone is me.
Yeah! Each week we will talk about our experiences in the classroom, community, and personal lives too. Please welcome your hosts, Lisa Hallen.
We say move all this stuff down there, and then it gets moved, and I'm like, oh my gosh, why have we moved that from there to there to there? Stop recording.
Art Martinez, happy Friday if it's not a Friday, or Saturday or Sunday, or if you're Lisa, it's a week later. And Kevin Ferry.
Oh, what you're talking about.
During class.
Okay.
I guess I can just say it and then he'll hear it on the podcast.
Kevin corrections are the best
He'll listen.
part of the Lisa list. Oh my gosh.
And my meeting shouldn't be long, so if you guys keep talking.
I think what we'll do is we'll just we can start with that, and then I figured he can give an update of how things are going and how he's interviewing and stuff. So, welcome back to another episode of Music in the Making. Kevin unfortunately couldn't make it because by the time we're recording this, he had to go to track practice, but that's okay. He loves you all and misses you all, and
He knows each and every one of your names.
Exactly. He has a list. He checks it twice.
It's the Kevin's list.
It's not as cool as the Lisa.
It's not as cool as the Lisa's list. Which this week we're gonna start with the Lisa's list. So Lisa list, you said you have 2 or 3 things on there.
Yes.
Including a Kevin correction, which is amazing.
And a Lisa correction.
Rare Lisa correction.
So I have fact check. Tomorrow is World Piano Day. Last week I said when we'd be recording would be World Piano Day.
88 days.
The problem is, I think I put it in my phone on a leap year, which would make today World Piano Day. But this was not a
leap years.
Therefore, tomorrow or Saturday, maybe you're listening to it Saturday, is World Piano Day.
There you go.
So
2025.
2025, yes. And then my Kevin correction is, or fact check, I should say. I was informed, last week we were talking about how Lila is so young and doing so well.
Yeah.
And he said, and she's only 15. She is in fact 14 years old.
Oh! Trying to falsify identification there. That's can't do that. Can't do that. We need a button for that.
She brought that up, and I was like, I will add that to my list, girl.
She brought that up, meaning that she listens to the podcast.
She does.
Obviously.
Shout out Lila.
Shout out Lila and everyone from the musical last week. Oh my gosh. That was like crazy cool. That was a hard musical. Like I felt for Matthew and Drew and them, like it's like there are musicals that it's like, oh, this is a good like the song like naturally goes and it's like a verse from the main character and there'll be like a chorus of some sort. It's like word, constantly just saying things out loud like that. That was it, the Ruffenhausen like it's just constant singing the entire time, just words and words and words and rhyming, and I would be like, oh my gosh, I would like lose track of where I am verse wise, like whoo. So kids did awesome. That was such a fun musical. Never heard of it before, but now I'm a big fan because now I know it. Now that I know the musical and the story and stuff, so amazing. And then we come to this week, which is a full week, and boy, did it feel like forever. I don't know, like yesterday I felt like Friday all day long, and I'm like, oh crap, I have one more day.
Yeah.
But it's 80 degrees out right now, which is nice. It's nice and warm, and that means grilling season. So maybe grilling something for dinner. Who knows?
Ooh,
But yeah. So thoughts on the musical? Well, thoughts on the musical from maybe production tech side, because you were doing some of that.
We had illness go through production tech. Thankfully, it was early enough that like we could tell they weren't going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But I had like 3 kids who were like gone like all of tech week, like gone from school, not just I'm sick at night. Like they weren't there. And sorry, I should say 3 kids who were supposed to be part of the musical.
Yeah.
So we had to we had a lot of people had to be flexible and jump around. So I'm glad it didn't go through the cast. I'm not glad my Pro Tech kids were sick, but
either. Yeah, exactly.
I was glad for that. It's so nice having a lot of upperclassmen who have done this before too, who can do leadership, and take care of a lot of that. So that it all's well that ends well. But
exactly. So, and they did a good job too. I mean, like people forget. It's like you're there to see. You're there to see the actors, but like the actors aren't worth jack if their microphones don't work, if the flies aren't open and all that stuff. Like I mean, like it just goes so much smoother when you have that other side of it that's going on. So kudos to production tech.
Thank you.
Always. Shout out.
We had some microphone problems, but not nearly as much as we have previous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we weren't having the bumping, which was a big problem, so I'm glad that seems fixed. We ended up using only 15 mics, but it was okay. The people who didn't have mics could project.
Yep, exactly. So, awesome. Good for them. So coming off of musical, and then this week was just super long, but then next week we have solo ensemble for junior high this time. It's about time that they had their turn, which
junior
it's like
high and 5th and 6th graders.
And 5th and 6th. I include them in that. I guess I'd say junior high, but I mean like it's their version of it.
I know. I'm just
I know you're right,
but
you are right. Yeah, 5th and 6th graders, which honestly that was so much fun working with those kids yesterday.
I love them.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was like who was that saxophone kid I was working with?
D'Angelo.
Oh yeah, dude, he was rocking it. Oh,
rocks.
Love that. Shout out to D'Angelo, Karimi's sister. or brother. Karimi's brother.
Oh, I forgot about that.
He's like, oh, you know my sister. I'm like, I do? He's like, yeah, Karimi. I'm like, oh, she's going to be jealous that you're playing and you're kicking her butt because she's no longer in it. But anyway, so you shall retire. Yeah, you're good. So, but anyway, so the other portion of this podcast, we have David Flowers, student teacher, with us. And I figured we just kind of talk a little bit about like you're starting your second half of the semester already. So like what are some things I don't know that happened in the first semester that now you're looking forward to in the second half, or like do better, or like how are things going for you in general?
I'm looking forward to more time with ensembles.
It
was good being with choir for like 4 weeks. And then it was like kind of depressing not being with them. and then we finally just got back into it. And I'm like, yes, this is what it's like all about. Mm-hmm. And same with band. Like we'd only done stuff like 2 or 3 times during solo and ensemble. Mm-hmm. Other than that, it was all solo and ensemble stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
we've talked before that like you did solo ensemble when you were in high school, but to the degree that we're doing it was definitely new to you. Yeah. But yeah, I mean we got through it. So on top of changing from the small group to the full ensemble for high school now, you've already put in applications and already had multiple interviews for jobs. So like what's that experience been like for you?
Yeah, had quite a few interviews. I had my first one was for Janesville up in Wisconsin, quite far away from Monmouth, Roseville, but it went okay. I was deathly scared they were going to ask me to play piano for them. And then they just asked me how my piano playing was. And I'm like, thank God.
And what kind of job was that for?
Middle school. It was actually 2 interviews in one. It was in the same district. And they both had middle school choir directors opening. And so it was 2 in 1. And that went okay. Haven't heard back from them, so it probably didn't go as well as I'm thinking it did. But Then I had West Central on Monday this past week, and that went pretty well. Pretty close to here as well. And then the next day I applied and got an interview for a 4K through 12 band and choir job. I know we had talked about that quite a bit, and it was nice. It was interesting, like what they were wanting me to do. And then man, like we were talking about, just the week has just been so long. Wednesday I had 2 interviews, one in Burlington around 2, and then I had to drive all the way to Geneseo, which was a long drive. And Geneseo was an elementary position, and I was like not expecting them to ask me to play hard music. And they were just like, sight read this really hard piano part. And I'm like, okay. And then I absolutely botched it.
That's okay. I mean, I think much like all the interviews, like some things are formality, some things are just to see how you work under pressure. I mean, for a job that maybe requires for you to play some piano, they probably just want to see what you can do. I mean, I think for anyone who's who's student teaching or is in your first job or trying to get your first job, everywhere you go, there will be maybe some formal questions like, tell us about yourself, and what's your work experience like, or like where do you see the program, or what do you want the program to be. But then after that, it could be just about anything. I mean, one of my first interviews I ever had, it was like, formal question, tell us about yourself. Next question, what do you think about this learning environment? And then the next question would be, how do you finger A flat on French horn? And I'd be like,
It depends on which octave you're in.
Well, yeah. Really, that should have been like, what did
That's
after, right? And then after that, it should have been like, well, then I still don't know either way. But it just still depends. So trick question.
For sure.
So like,
2 and 3,
I mean,
right? No, it's 1.
yeah, trigger 2, 3.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what octave you're in.
But yes, but if it was a junior high gig, so they wouldn't be playing above the staff.
Oh yeah.
Or super below staff. But anyway, it's okay. But like, just you kind of don't know what they're going to ask you, because every job, even though it might be a music job, the expectations from the principals, from your future coworkers, like they all vary. So so like I think I asked you earlier in the week, like, was there any question that kind of stood out to you that was like, oh, that's kind of a weird question to ask, or like maybe a question that like you didn't ever even thought of being prepared for? I don't know. Was there any question that stuck out to you?
Geneseo asked me like what I like to do outside of music or outside of school, and I'm just like,
really?
I don't know. I'm like kind of just a boring guy, I guess.
I like to continue to make music, and I like to continue to teach, and I like to do nothing else.
I like to be paid. I like to not be paid to do music stuff, and then they just think, oh, he's the best guy from.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna do lots of that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Just kidding.
No.
But they kind of maybe just want to see what your interests are.
Yeah.
Maybe they've always wanted someone who, I don't know, plays tuba to start a brass choir or something. Like there's
in elementary school. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's never too early. Play tuba. Yeah. I don't care how small you are.
Yeah.
So like that. I mean, that's kind of interesting. See what your hobbies are. Maybe see who, how you're kind of like as a person on the outside. I don't know. If I was asked that question like today, it would be like, yeah, I go home and disassociate.
Exactly.
Yeah, I try to go home and enjoy my life. I have pets. I have, I like to watch movies. I play video games on occasion. I try to live a somewhat normal life when I go home. I try not to fill it with too much more work, even though sometimes I do. But I choose to do those things, not do those things out of necessity, if that makes sense. So, because sometimes our hobbies, like, we get a little obsessed with them. So like, if that's the case, then it's not really a hobby anymore. But okay, that's interesting. So I guess, did you find that after every interview you did within the last week, did you feel like it got easier? Did you feel like you were still unsure because it's like, like, were you anticipating maybe certain questions or something like that?
I guess I was expecting more things about like DEI or just like asking what would you do in this situation. Yeah, like stuff like that. And one of the questions Burlington asked me, it's like, how would you use data to influence how you teach a class or a lesson? And I said something about, well, you know, I'm always collecting data and like in my head, right? Like, oh, you didn't play that note, right? Play it again, or whatever it is. And then after I'd like gotten done answering the question, I'm like, well, wait a minute. Did you mean like DEI data or like what I? And then he's like, no, what you said was fine. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. And so yeah.
I mean, there's something about like that interview when you're sitting in that room or sitting in that chair or wherever you are, that like you're trying to go like regurgitate everything that you could possibly say
positive, right?
Well, like to promote yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's funny because like I remember when I was about to like student teach and I was like preparing like materials to interview for jobs eventually at that point, people were like, this is the one time in your life, one of the few times in life where you cannot be humble. You really need to promote yourself in a way that is, you know, like something that really shows off your skills, your skill set, your abilities, right? But also like a opportunity to also be human, where like when I first started interviewing, one of my weaknesses I'd always say is I've never been given the opportunity to show what I can do. I said I can't say that I taught for years. I can't say that I know everything. Not that I really would, even as a teacher today. I still don't know everything, but like my weakness is that I've never been given an opportunity to show off my abilities, to my skills, to educate, to make students better. But if given the chance, I would prove that I can do those things.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes when you're in that room, like, it's not just a matter of like talking about yourself. Like, you have to sell yourself, right? You know, and don't consider what other people would say. Like, oh, well, if I would have said this, maybe I would have gotten the job. I mean, maybe. But also maybe that person was just more qualified because they taught for a while.
Yeah.
But if you go in there with some confidence in, like, what you're able to bring to the table, right? Literally and figuratively. You can, again, like, really give yourself a shot at getting the job that you want or getting the job that you're trying to go for in that moment. Obviously, like, you've had maybe some callbacks already, which is great. Were there any jobs that required like a second round interview at all? Have you got any callbacks about that?
None yet. No,
okay.
Only one place has called me back.
Okay.
So far. So.
Okay. I mean, tis the season right now. I mean, we're in the midst of like jobs opening up, and they're gonna be probably open up even more in April, because that's about the time where people need to make decisions if they're gonna be leaving, staying, or going. So, So we're good. We'll continue to do all those things. Like interviewing is so interesting because like it's almost like a skill that like if you ever have to do it a second time or a third time or however many times you do it because you're just trying to find that job that you see yourself doing forever, or at least long enough to retire. Like each time you do it, like after you've already worked for a year or two, you're already that many years ahead of the person that's also interviewing next to you. Mm-hmm. Because there will always be kids coming out of college to interview for jobs, but what'll set you apart from everyone is that you've already had a job. Yeah. You've already run a program, Hence going back to like my point of like my weakness when I was student teaching was I'm only a student teacher. But I'll tell you what, I can guarantee that if given the opportunity to teach, you'd see what I can do.
Yeah.
So
I think for whenever, because every interviewer in the world has always asked that question, like, what are you good at and what are you not? Mm-hmm. And I would always say, like, classroom management. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, like, I even see other teachers, like, struggling with that, and it's a hard thing to do, right? Mm-hmm. So, And then I always talked about how I was doing choir and band at the same time. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, I'm doing all these things all the time, and I'm still able to function at a regular level. Yeah, like, and I can able to still drive myself home. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you're in such a unique position
like being here, doing all those things. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it makes you so much more marketable.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, in Illinois, for the most part, I think a good amount of the schools prepare you for K-12, but I mean, there are some schools out there where, you know, they may have you choose. I mean, like, I think you said Platteville was one of those where it's like, if you are more of a secondary level person, then, you know, you can kind of take that route, I guess. But, I mean, you're realizing here, like, oh, wow, I'm actually capable of a lot more than just simply that grade level, right?
Yeah.
And you're getting so much out of that, which I think is awesome. So really, really good for you that you're taking everything in stride. Like, you know, Fairy's tough, and you know, I try to be encouraging with lots of opportunities too. But I think whoever hires you, you're gonna be more than prepared because it may even feel easier.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
you know, like you're gonna get a job, you're like, wow, I have actually more energy now than I
Like,
normally
I only
do.
have 4 pieces to prepare.
Yeah,
instead of
so
30.
Yeah,
or whatever.
exactly. Yeah, I know. It's gonna feel different in so many ways, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, but well, I would say I'm not sure if Lisa's coming back or not, but it's okay. We just keep going for a little bit. So next week we have, I mentioned it a little bit earlier in the podcast. We have solo ensemble for junior high and central. Junior high, and which is crazy because it just seems like, wasn't it forever ago you guys just had high school? Yes, it was the very first week of March that we had high school solo ensemble. Now we have to do the junior high version of it and central, all over again. Luckily, we don't have to host, but we
Makes it
still have to
slightly
get.
easier.
But yeah, which in some ways it does. It really does. But we still have to get on a bus at 6 something a.m. or 7 a.m. and travel to Rock Ridge. Shout out Curtis and them.
Curtis and them.
Curtis and all of them at Rock Ridge to help. So it's like how we host here. It's an all hands on deck type thing. So he's probably got his his boosters and stuff helping him. Jake Walker, shout out also, band director. They're running their heads off trying to get everything taken care of for us. But we're getting on the bus and getting over there to do our solo ensembles. I have to admit, like I think the last 2 years I felt like solo ensemble for at least the band side for junior high, not central, but just junior high, 7 and 8. It was always like maybe I think I just maybe overprogrammed certain groups. This year I feel like either I nailed it on the music for groups and solos and stuff, or more likely the kids are just that good that whatever I gave them it wouldn't matter. Like, the soloists have ran through their stuff with Joan Blint, shout out, like at least 2 or 3 times already, and we still have a whole other week. So it's like I'm like, oh my gosh, like these
They're
kids are
gonna
gonna
be
do
so
so
prepared.
good. I'm like, it's gonna be like they're just gonna walk in and do it. Like that's how it should be. Is that like you're not worried about anything. You're just gonna go in there, do it, get it over with, and then move on to the next thing. I mean, just like how we do it in high school. Granted, it's like 1 million more events per person, but it's still gonna be like that sensation of, like you just go in there and do it, and then get it done, and then boom, done. And then you get signed. Parents can sign you out if they pick you up, and then you leave and you're done for the day.
Yeah.
Like it's just, it can be such an easy process for them, and I really am excited for. Excuse me. Excited for some of these kids because, like, I think some of them it's their first solo. Some of them I think they had a solo last year, so for it to be like a step above that for them, I think is great. I mean, I'm seeing some of these kids, especially the 8th graders, seeing them take on these solos and these events in choir too. I'm like, man, these guys are gonna be killer next year. I cannot wait to have them here, and we can kick some even more serious butt for the for the band portion of things, which officially I'm not sure if we even said, I'm sure we did, but on like one last podcast that the bands did get second place for solo and ensemble portion, which is incredible. So we're gonna get a plaque for that, which is awesome.
Kevin was ordering it yesterday.
Oh, was he? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So
Or
like,
attempting to order. I don't know.
yeah, I think we have to do it a certain way because we're a school and stuff. But yeah, I mean, like that's great. So looking at our current 8th graders who are gonna now add to those numbers next year,
I mean, there's no way we can't get first, I think. There's just no way. I just think we're going to just rock the socks off everyone, and I cannot wait for them to be a part of it. So, so what about the junior high side of things for choir? Like, what have you, I guess, witnessed from any of that?
About nothing. Because Miss Ellie does everything before I get there, right?
Oh, that's true.
And so, in that time I'm doing
shout out Miss Ellie.
Yeah, shout out Miss Ellie, who just came back this week, right?
Yes, she was gone for a little bit for some health concerns, but she seems to be fine now, which is good. So hopefully she continues in that right direction. But
I walked in with Al and just Al and listened to I think just 2 solos and they sounded great. So I think it'll be fine.
Yeah.
For choir.
I think Kevin made the comment this afternoon saying that the kids are super prepared. So
yeah.
Which is good. I mean, honestly, I just for an event like this, it takes a lot of work, but as long as you keep the kids playing and rehearsing and running through it, like they'll get to a point where it's like, oh, can I be done with this? It's like, yes, after the performance, you can be done with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but only then can that happen. So yeah, that's coming up, and then immediately after, so we're gonna have that Saturday, and then that following Monday is the all district concert. So that's gonna be 5 through 12 bands.
Man, that's coming up, huh?
Yeah, it's
seriously coming up.
It's gonna be Saturday, solo ensemble, Monday all district, and then the next Saturday is high school org. Yeah, and then we'll have 2 weeks maybe for junior high org, and then it's gonna come down. So
Mercer County correspondent here.
Yeah, Lisa Fornoff is live on the podcast.
Help! The wind blew the door closed. I'm outside the basement.
That's awesome.
It was packed like fully, and the wind just whoosh.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Okay, David's getting you right now.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Bye.
Right.
In her defense, it is super windy out, and that's crazy. But you know what? I'll take 80 mile an hour winds with 80 degrees out as long as there's no rain or anything. So. Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. So we have just a bunch of stuff in a row. I mean, I will say this: like when we have org done for high school, it's gonna be like, we have time to do things, even though we won't, because
we won't.
Even though we won't, but in a way, we'll
left.
still have like multiple left. So anyway, I was just kind of going over like because it's junior high org and then so ensemble and then immediately all district and then high school right after that. So, and what's your side of things for circling back a little bit to for junior high, solo ensemble and central? What is your point of view for the kids or like how they're doing with all that?
I'm excited. My 5th graders are doing really well. 6th graders are doing well. I think some of them have had a reality check of taking multiple events, and maybe they put more time into one than the other, and just like, oh shoot, I need to spend more time on my trio. On my solo. I've been so excited for my trio that I kind of let that slide, and having our first rehearsal with our wonderful accompanist this week was kind of an eye-opener, like, oh, I can't play this deadly.
Yeah.
Isn't that always the case? Any grade level?
Oh, for sure. You need that eye-opening. I remember that in college, like, oh, I have an accompanist rehearsal, like, this is getting real now.
Yeah. I felt bad for those people. They had so many freaking solos.
I know. I don't know. They're just incredible. I don't know how.
And, there was one accompanist that had, they had youth singers also on top of all that stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, and youth singers music is so freaking hard too.
Yeah.
It's because we were doing Mozart and stuff at one point, so they're doing all the orchestra reduced scores on the piano. I'm like, oh my gosh, how are you doing this?
Plus, you have the youth singers rehearsals that takes an hour. Every day, and the performances, which are
every day,
all the time. I think youth singers was every day, right?
Youth singers was every day. It changed at the times though. It was Yeah, it was an hour. No, it was 2 hours on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then I think it was only an hour and a half on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But like, we were rehearsing all the time.
Yeah.
It was busy.
They were really good though.
That's why I couldn't be in the steel band.
That's so sad.
It was. I
Why
tried
are you
to.
trying to steal band, dude. You're like the Grinch.
Because I was, because I'd lose my talent grant if I wasn't a singer. So
Yeah, well, that was important.
I like free money for singing. But yeah, no, we rehearsed all
He
the
just
time.
needs to have have steel band in the evenings, and
Mm-hmm.
then you could do it, and I would totally drive from Aledo to Macomb to
Absolutely.
do that.
Yeah.
Dr. Karat.
I would. It's called. Is it extending my educational license? Or not license. What do they call it? It's like basically PD, professional development. I don't know.
Development.
Yeah.
Police department.
I don't know what you're
Extended
going for.
education or whatever it is. I forget what they call it. Anyway,
Continuing education.
continuing education maybe. That's what it is. And I hit things to do that. That would be fun.
Yes.
So yeah, I was just anyway, off the tangent. I was saying like junior high has had so many reps. Like all the soloists have at least maybe 2 or 3 reps already.
With the accompanist.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And like we still have one other week. Like it's just like, oh my gosh, they're gonna get so much done.
That's
So
a good place to be.
yeah, so shout out to Jumblant
Shout out.
and
Carolyn Keller.
shout out, yeah. Didn't want to say it, but I was like pretty sure it was Carolyn, right? Doing all things.
I always find a lot of enjoyment seeing your alternate names for our accompanists.
Oh, yeah.
Pauline,
Helly,
with
yeah,
an I.
yeah, Paula,
Carol Keller.
Yeah, Carol
with a C maybe
yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah. That's always funny. Yeah, like Alvin Silver,
Yeah.
Alexander Silver, or whatever it is. Yeah, so just so we can get all the names in.
People are gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, they overwork these."
Yeah,
accompanists.
yeah.
They make them go under 3 names.
They want to do it though.
It's kind of legal.
Yeah.
It is. Everyone does it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why do you spell the name wrong?
Because so there's technically a limit.
The system only wants accompanists to have so many things, but it's like super low.
Yeah,
like
it's like
12 events or
yeah,
something.
something dumb. So I have to in the website I have to put in like different versions of their names so they know that they're still doing like which events are still doing it. So, but again, talking about accompanist being like crazy, like Paul and them, like
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I would tear my hair out if I had to play like on the day play that solo just one more time. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
just stuff like that. Like just like I'd be a bad accompanist. I'd probably be a worse soloist, but I'd be a bad accompanist. So, anyway, so yeah, it's just been busy, and it's just gonna be this mad dash to the end. Like it was funny because like my parents always ask like, oh, so what do you got coming up next? Or like this big thing off the checklist, huh? I'm like, yeah, I still got like 5 or 6 huge things left to do, and they're all gonna happen within like a week of each other. So, shout out my parents in Naples.
Shout out.
In Naples, Florida,
They're
living
probably
it up.
on
They're
the
living in-
beach.
It's
with their feet up.
hilarious because my dad's like, call anytime if you need anything. I'll call him and he never picks up. So I'll call my mom and I'll be like, oh, your dad left his phone on the thing. I'm like, what's the point of calling you whenever I want if you're never gonna pick it up?
Aw.
It's funny. They're retired. It's great.
When the door closed out there, I had my laptop open with my like stuff I needed to talk to the advisor about, and then I had my phone because my laptop Zoom doesn't work anymore. And the door closed, and I was like, oh, I don't have my keys. I'm gonna have to call them to let me in. Then I was like, do I have my phone? And I was like, no, that is my phone. It's right there.
Yeah. Oh, that's the worst. Where's my phone? As I'm holding it. Where's my
Yes.
phone? Oh my gosh. What is this thing in my hand? It's not my phone. Yeah. So. Oh my gosh. Anyway. Well, anything for the good of the order, good of the cause.
You should say play ball when we start the podcast, dude. So then we know that we're starting. So you can just play ball. and
It's
then-
not authentic.
Yeah, it is. Just play ball. What's up,
It-
guys? It's Music Maker, or what do we call it?
I mean,
Welcome back to another episode.
I mean,
Yeah.
if Joe Rogan can just start talking after his little
No,
intro
they
song,
say-
then he's like, "Hey, welcome." He's like, "Hey, thanks for being on." Immediately starts talking. I at least say the title of the show.
No, they probably do like play ball and then they start. They just cut that out.
No.
No, they-
Jamie's like, I'm just gonna press the button, and then they're gonna start talking. And sometimes he'll be like, "Oh man, we've been talking for 45 minutes." I'm like, "The podcast just started. Like, what were you talking about for that long? Like, what the heck are you doing?"
Yeah.
You gotta say play.
But it's
ball.
okay. He makes more money than me, so I can't complain about his podcast.
This is a music podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
If
I
this
listen
is
to another
sports,
podcast
this
that's
is
just about a YouTuber guys that they play ball and then they start.
Okay.
I don't know.
and they immediately start talking about.
Or
Dancing.
1, 2, ready, go, and then we all breathe. And
Mhm.
welcome back to another episode.
Oh, we need to do that before Girl Bye. But
Girl.
we do it like through cues, you know.
When you have your own podcast, wherever you start, you could say play ball.
Okay.
When you're in this Kidder's podcast studio, it's just welcome back. But
Okay.
anyway, so anything else though? Any other things? We miss Kevin.
We do.
He'll be here next week though.
Maybe.
Mhm.
Hopefully.
He said he'd be here this week. Yeah.
Well, he was, and then we didn't tell Lisa we were down here.
I was gonna say, did we talk about the communication of this episode?
Here's what I will say too. I almost texted our chat where it's like, hey, we're podcasting today, because I kind of forgot, like, oh, we probably should ask that already. But then I texted him because I was thinking like, oh, she probably has central lessons. And then we get down here, and then I ask him, I'm like, does she have central lessons? And she's like, no. He's like, no. I'm like, oh, then why isn't she here? I'm like, why isn't she down here? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's because we didn't tell you. So
Last time I came down here and texted you guys, like, where are you? Because we had been podcasting here, and you were like, we're up in the auditorium. The last, like, 2 or 3 podcasts
Yeah.
have been in the auditorium.
Yeah.
Chloe and I are sitting there, like, all by myself. Chloe finally leaves. I'm all by myself, and you're like, are you coming? I'm like, what do you mean? Are
We've
you
been recording
coming?
for an hour, yeah. Anyway, well, Kevin, by the time he got here anyway, it was, he said he had a meeting with Nate, so it ended up going longer than I think he anticipated,
Yeah.
but that's okay. Well, it's Friday. Let's all go home. Thanks for everyone for listening in. Obviously, Kidder, thank you for everything that you do for us so that we can do this podcast and spread the musical love that we have for our jobs and our students. So thank you for sponsoring us always. As with the organizational season still upon you, it's never too late to get your scores ordered, especially for those judges. Make sure you get those 3 extra scores because, you don't want to forget those. I was so nervous the last 2 years because I think I waited like the week before and I was like, crap, So
I think
always
I
make
got
sure.
My last ones this week I need for high
I've
school.
been good about choosing music, like looking ahead and like, oh, this one has multiple scores. I will keep that in mind for an org piece in the future. Yeah. So I don't have to bother Jamie.
Chloe, like, the piece she's doing with the high school is a brand new to us
Right.
piece. And Chloe's like, why did they send 3 scores? And I was like, oh, Sweet Summer Child.
Yeah, exactly.
I ordered those.
Yes, because
contest.
you need them, so keep that in mind. So, anyway, all right. Well, thank you, kid. Appreciate it. Order your scores, people. Org season is upon us. Next time we'll have Kevin on, hopefully to talk about how we're going to have so much fun about junior high and central.
Dude, why are you
So an
being
ensemble.
like that?
It's going to be a good day for
love
them,
it.
but it's going to be so high energy at 7 a.m. on a Saturday. I'm just like not ready for it.
I bet they don't even
Ready.
like sleep.
They don't. They don't. They just show
They
up.
live off caffeine.
They just show up to junior high and they're like, my legs hurt. It's like, you joined track. You use your legs. I don't know what you want me to do. They're hilarious. Anyway, all right, let's get out of here. Girl bye. Or if you're David, play ball.
No, right now it's like safe. Or, I don't know. Home run.